Nullius in Verba means in no one's word. It's a very powerful phrase which essentially, along with various other things in the European approach to research, study, academics, etc., and therefore various other things, the Industrial Revolution was a very powerful tool. In no one's word means that, look, I'm not going to believe a particular person, so I have to understand and extricate truth. We have to do something else. So it says in no one's word, okay, but it doesn't really give a direction. But it says that I'm not going to believe a person, but I'm going to believe in proof, um, which essentially in Europe and in natural sciences is translated to something called repeated experiments. Now, repeated experiments in natural sciences is possible to a large extent because you can create the initial conditions and then you can repeat an experiment, or you can show how it changed just in case you cannot repeat the experiment using the initial conditions being the same. In social sciences, of course, in no one's word becomes a little bit of a difficult conundrum. Not that people have moved beyond it. Okay. Uh, Another thing is this is the motto of the Royal Society thing, so we have to keep that in mind. The fellow of the Royal Society, that, but they essentially look into natural sciences. Now, in social sciences, repeated experiments is not a particular method to investigate. You need to construct a different idea. And it is here that not only social sciences or it's even in natural sciences, there are certain things where repeated experiments are quite meaningless. Okay, or there is a particular aspect of natural sciences like what happened before the Big Bang, or what is consciousness, etc. So we are always faced with uncertainty, and life, existential, and more so to with society, culture wars, how to look into religion. Now, the European tradition, because of this particular thing, in no one's word, you could not do repeated experiments with, say, religion. So they looked at social, especially religion, in a different way, and they called it hermeneutics. In India, this the Indic traditions actually you never differentiated religion and natural sciences. So their method of investigation was there is no differentiation. So if there is truth, if there is an observation, whether an observation is via the visual cortex, or via the eyes, or via what we think, they must truth. So the method in the Indian tradition was that truth has to be investigated in its own pattern. It is not about natural sciences and social sciences and hermeneutics and religion. No, I don't need to differentiate it. I have a particular method to investigate. That method to investigate is rooted in Advait, Advait, non-dual. Now, essentially, it's possibly one of the most powerful words ever spoken. The reason behind that is it is not two. Then what is it? What is not two? Okay, in the simple number systems, not 2 can be 3, 4, 5. It can be 1, 0, minus. If I stick to natural numbers and whole numbers, positive whole numbers, I would, and 0. So I would look into what is not 2, is many, is 1, is nothing. Okay. So the not to construct is an incredible method to explain a lot of ideas. Now, this is extremely powerful, and you start thinking where not to is implied is not in the sense of Nullius in Verba, which is in no one's word, so I do repeated experiments. Not to here is how do I interpret, construct, and govern my paradigms. It can be internet. It can be various other things. Now, looking into the religion where it possibly is most often used, so the not to can be used as tatsam asi, which means I am it. That is all sometimes interpreted as monism. Okay, so which also means that I am God. Uh, it can mean nothing. So there is no existence of God. So 0, there is no God. 1, everything is God or divinity. Definitely it is not 2. Okay. And it can be many. Now, the many approach is a very difficult approach to understand. And I'll stick to the many approach, which is essentially a heuristic method of uh, saying a very difficult thing. For example, free speech, free markets. These are all many. But at the same time, there is this one understanding that many has to exist. And if you have a Advait concept, God and humans or God, etc., and if you're very powerful of a dual concept, the poly, the monism, or even the nothingness will fail. So what it implies is that there is a particular heuristic, particular pattern, particular governance method which will ensure polycentric viewpoints. If you think about it, that if you want free speech and no one will be physically hurt as a result of the speech, so everyone will hear. It's kind of the Voltaire world that, I might disagree, but I will protect you with uh, with my life to protect what you want to say. Now, for that to exist, there has to be a huge acceptance of a particular paradigm that you cannot be hurt by speech. And these paradigms break when you have the dual concepts. That we see in religion the most. And religion then gets into society, and then society then formulates into law. And once you make it legal, that ensures that that is how people will behave. So, so this is, and then you cannot, and polycentric ideas are the most important part of moving ahead. Beyond Nullius and Verba is how do we then construct observation and research? How do we construct free speech? How do we construct free markets? How do we construct natural sciences? How do we construct new technology paradigms which are always interfacing with culture? So, your internet governance, governance of content, governance of knowledge, information sharing, construct of purposes, what should be done, where should government spend money, all these things can be understood once we understand Advait. It's the root of the construct of the new era.